What is up, guys? It is Stealthy here, back with another video for you guys. Today we're trying out some Sera, a mix of Sera control with some Darkhawk. The new Max Grec variant for Sera just dropped yesterday, so I picked it up out of the shop, and I've been playing around with some different variations of some Sera control mixed with some Darkhawk. I've played a lot of control and I've played quite a bit of Sera, but I've not played much Darkhawk, so trying to combine those two packages is been an interesting kind of twist of things, because I feel like in today's meta we need a big powered card, and Darkhawk kind of brings that for us while fitting into the Sera package. We've got Luke Cage to kind of mitigate some of those negative powered locations, because we have a lot of weaker kind of statted cards, and so being able to mitigate those negative effects is very beneficial to us. We've got the Zabu helping out with the Darkhawk, Enchantress, Shang-Chi, the standard control elements, and then Captain Marvel and Darkhawk. So pairing that with the Sera obviously makes both of these, or all of these, cost 2 on that turn 6, so we can play 3 of them, or we can play 2 of them with a Rock Slide, or a Cosmo, or various things. This Cosmo slot, before I was running Killmonger to kind of combat some Kitty Prides, but in my most recent matches I've been just consistently going up against the ramp Galactus deck, and so Cosmo can really help to just shut down Galactus or shut down an Alioth. The same idea is with the armor to kind of help protect against that Alioth that's coming down. And so the only issue with Sera decks is that there's so many different lines that you can play with them, especially on that turn 6. It is sometimes difficult to know what is the best line to play. So a lot of times I wouldn't recommend playing a Sera deck. It can be kind of tricky, but with having all of these options, it makes it very fun and interesting to play. So I've always enjoyed a good Sera game. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into some matches so we can kind of see how the deck works. So for our first matchup, we're up against Domador. We see Hermitage come down. I think we will go ahead and drop our Korg into there. Putting 2 rocks into our opponent's deck is pretty nice. And then we'll probably Scarlet Witch it unless we draw into Rock Slide, because Hermitage doesn't have a big help for us, and we don't know what our opponent is playing, so chances are it could be more beneficial to them. So I definitely think we're just going to zap that away, make sure they don't get any benefit from it. So Vormir is great. We just killed off their Daredevil. So seeing Daredevil, it's definitely going to be a ramp deck. The Galactus, ramp, Alioth stuff that I've been talking about. It makes it very clear. So we don't have to deal with the Vormir, I'm going to go ahead and just drop an armor in this lane. It'll probably be where we end up playing our Sera as well on that turn 5 if we see them ramp in with some Electro. We see a wave, so we could see an Alioth come down, we could see a Galactus come down. Both of these are options. The best bet for us, because we can't compete with the Galactus unless we go with a Darkhawk, so we're kind of taking a 50-50. Odds are if it is the Galactus, it's going to come down on Mount Vesuvius, this way we can't retreat after next turn. Or if it's the Alioth, it's going in one of these 2 lanes, and we're just playing the 50-50 as to whether or not our Darkhawk dies. But I think on the chance of beating out the Galactus, this is the play that we have to make. I'm not confident enough to snap on it, but this is definitely where they will play the Galactus if it is a Galactus deck. So we made the read just like we anticipated. That was perfect for us. Now we can drop our Sera. I don't really think it matters where our Sera goes, but on the off chance that we do see the Alioth come down, well, they didn't ramp into anything, so we can't see the Alioth, and our opponent just retreated. So we took the risk on the Galactus versus Alioth, and it paid off for us. We got the win with the Darkhawk, and there was nothing that they could do after that. So there's just kind of a demonstration of what you can do by making some big reads and kind of help win out with this deck. Let's go ahead and jump into the second match, guys. So game number 2, we are up against a Juma. We open up with a Murder World, fine. probably won't be playing into there unless we draw our armor. Seeing a nebula, we're going to shift our focus into that lane. Having 2 Zabus is actually really nice, but we don't have the Killmonger to handle the nebula because we swapped that out for Cosmo. So we're probably going to just play the Zabu in the right lane to try and mitigate any growth on that nebula. I think we're okay with playing 2 Korgs because if 1 Korg bounces left, dies to the Murder World, we're fine with that. Having an extra rock in our opponent's deck is kind of nice, but at the same time, we're going to be able to fill this up very quickly with a Sera and our turn 6 plays. So instead, I think we're just going to drop an armor and we're going to save the Korg for the last turn because we're going to have everything discounted to 1 off of our Sera. See a Sauron come down is most definitely a see the Sauron come down. It's most definitely a Shuri deck. So with that in mind, I think we want to go with the Cosmo since we have priority. We're going to drop the Korg left, and then we're going to Cosmo mid so we can prevent that Shuri from doubling. We also want to consider that we have our Shang-Chi, and this might just come right anyways, and so we're okay with that. And in fact, we're trying to make that read. We're actually just going to drop the Cosmo right and see what happens. So we see the Typhoid Mary. It's okay, we've got the Shang-Chi. So we're going to drop the Sera, and then we'll be able to just, having 2 Seras, we'll be able to just completely dump out our hand and send in Shang-Chi to kind of shut everything down. We're feeling pretty confident. I think we snap on this, because we can always fill up the right lane to guarantee our Shang-Chi going to the left as well. So we're fine with that. We were going to throw right lane anyways. We'd be fine if Sera went right. Sera decides to go left. That's also okay though. So we're going to drop our Captain Marvel to the right. This way she can move if need be. We're going to drop the Shang-Chi so that Shang-Chi doubles. And I actually think we want to go with 2 Marvels. Drop the Cage there so that he blocks it up. So we need Shang-Chi. So then that's Marvel, Shang-Chi, Cage there. And we'll just go ahead and drop the Rock Slide as well. But this puts the most power while eliminating the most power, and Luke Cage just guarantees all of them, or both of them, to bounce left. So, feeling pretty confident with our Shang-Chi play, especially with our opponent having priority. We do see an armor come down, but we have the Shang-Chi to lock up mid. And we are actually just shy on the left, sadly. We got enough mid, but we don't have enough for the left.
Faster, baby.
And it wouldn't have mattered if our Captain Marvel had been able to move. Just not enough going for it. So, we had the right idea. Our opponent just played what we weren't expecting. The Ebony Maw and the Lizard are both under that Shang-Chi threshold, which was nice for them. So, we won one, we lost one. Let's go ahead and jump into our third match, guys. Okay, guys, for match 3, we are up against Fake Natty. We've got our Korg into an armor and a Cosmo, kind of curving out pretty nicely. And then we've got our Sera as well, which Sera's the big key piece of this deck. We're okay with dropping Korg left. Putting a rock in our opponent's deck is great. Gives them a higher chance of drawing it when we play it on turn 1. So seeing Destroy comes out, that is awesome for us, especially since we have this armor. And we're going to have priority no matter what. So I honestly think we even snap on this because the Lemuria is going to make them want to fill up that lane even more, and then our armor is just going to shut it all down. And then having the Cosmo as well, we can play that in another lane and just completely lock them out. So I think Destroy is a great matchup for us, especially with this hand.
Oh, snap.
We'll probably see something like a Wolverine or a Bucky Barnes from X-23. And sure enough, they play into that lane. We've still got priority that's never going to change. And I'm hoping they play out another card, maybe even 2 cards, to try and completely wipe this lane, and then our armor just completely shuts that down. Now with this in mind, I feel like we want to save our Cosmo as well, so that we can try and shut down, but they will probably obtain priority. So it's actually better for us to play our Cosmo elsewhere, and then we can try and make the reads with our Shang-Chi later on. And we might even have made a Cosmo read here for us. So there's the Cosmo, or the Carnage, our armor blocks that, and our Cosmo makes the read on the Forge. And sure enough, our opponent is out just like that. We read both of their plays. So see, I told you guys that this deck has a great matchup into Destroy, and evident right there with the armor and the Cosmo completely shutting down everything that they were trying to do. So, since that was a quick one, we'll play a 4th match for you guys. Alright guys, for our 4th and final match, we're up against Philly. Right now the deck is 2-1. We've won against 2 matchups pretty handily. We made the correct reads and shut down their plays, and people were just gone as soon as we made those reads. So seeing in Nova, we're considering 2 things. It's either Destroy or it's Galactus. A lot of times Galactus is also ran with Destroy, and seeing a Dakin player icon, chances are it's going to be a Destroy of some sort. We're going to open up with our Zabu, just because that allows us to curve into our Captain Marvel. And then we can save Luke Cage for the last turn if he's even needed. So Goose is actually pretty interesting. Goose indicates that we might see something besides those 2 that I mentioned. We might look at something like a Silver Surfer deck running Killmonger, which we're okay with. We don't really have any 1-drops that we're too worried about getting destroyed. Good timing of our Cosmo can be very crucial for us. So we might try and make sure that we land that in the right spot and see if we can't snipe the Silver Surfer.
Wind, aid my hand.
So Storm coming down right. We're kind of hoping that our opponent doesn't have the Juggernaut follow-up, because we're going to try and commit the Darkhawk. And we'll go ahead and commit the Korg as well. And then we can always commit the Captain Marvel later to try and help win out that lane if need be. Chances are, though, they're going to follow this up with the Juggernaut, and things are just going to get shot to the side, and that's okay. We can still win these 2 lanes if need be. So sure enough, there's the Juggernaut as anticipated. We're fine with that. Then we see a Snow Guard, which is an interesting one. If our opponent chooses to play the bear, or not the bear, but the bird on turn 5, then we can play into this flooded lane actually and potentially win out. So we don't have our Sera for turn 6, which would be very helpful. We're still going to try and win out these left 2 lanes, so it'd be nice if we could play our Iron Man mid to try and help with that, but we can't. So we need to play some of our bigger statted stuff. So we're looking at Captain Marvel, and then I think we're going to Scarlet Witch this left lane, see if we can't switch into something beneficial for us.
Live from the Daily Bugle.
So we get a rock from our opponent, not very helpful. See a Cosmo come down.
Breaking news.
And we get another rock. So with our opponent having 6 cards in hand, for us to hit 2 rocks, that means they've got plenty of rocks in their hand. So we're kind of just hoping that our opponent doesn't have a ton of stats. They probably got to Maximus and play mid though, and then they're going to Surfer it, and it's going to be very difficult for us to win this middle lane, especially not being able to play the Iron Man here. We have no way of pushing power into this third lane outside of the Captain Marvel, which that lane's already lost. So right now our best bet is to just play the Cosmo, and then the Shang-Chi is the most power. We're definitely going to win left, but I'm not confident in our ability to win mid. I think this is going to be a loss for us, and it would be beneficial for us to just retreat on this, taking the 1 cube loss as opposed to the 2. But just because I'm curious to see if we actually read what the opponent's going to play, we're going to stick it out. So we do see the Surfer, and then we see a Shadow King. So that is not the play that I anticipated our opponent to make. We knew the Surfer was coming down, but we thought they would go with something mid. So this is actually huge for us, and we were able to get the win. So there was 4 games for you guys. We won 3 out of 4 of those. I think our cube net was about even. We won 2 cubes on this one. I think we got 2 cubes on another one, and then 1 cube off the first match with the Galactus win. So out of the 4 games, we only netted 1 cube, but we won 3 out of 4 matches. It's just the way that the matches kind of roll, and knowing when to snap and knowing when to pull out, that can be kind of difficult with this deck. But 3 out of 4 wins, that's 75% win rate, pretty good. As you can see, this deck, if you make the right reads, can be very frustrating for your opponent. We saw our Destroy opponent leave after turn 3 when we made the armor read and the Cosmo read and just shut down every play he had made up to that point. And then we made the read with the Galactus by playing our Darkhawk on that lane that we expected him to play it in. And so just pretty much guaranteed both of those wins, and that's why our opponents dipped out early. But like I said, guys, I enjoy Sera. I've played a lot of Sera, and I've played a lot of Control, as you can see by the Shang-Chi that we have inked. And so I really enjoy this archetype. I recommend this archetype to anyone unless you're just kind of getting into card games, and especially trying to get into Marvel Snap pretty heavily. Sera is not an easy deck to pilot. There's so many different lines, especially adding in the Darkhawk elements. Then you have to know where you're trying to put your heavier power, and you don't want to enchantress your own Darkhawk because that could be very bad for you. But if you kind of learn to master the lines and the plays, this deck can be very rewarding for you, and it feels very fun to play because you're constantly interacting with your opponent and trying to stop what your opponent is doing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one. See you guys.